At exactly 2:17 a.m. a man sat on the edge of his bed, holding a notebook he hated, not because it was empty, but because it was full. Every page was proof of a promise he had once believed in and quietly abandoned. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just stared at the handwriting and felt something heavier than failure, recognition, because this wasn't the first notebook, it was the ninth. Different covers, same story. And if you've ever felt that slow, sinking realization that you've been here before, stay with me. Because what changed this man didn't look powerful at all. It looked almost pointless. His name was Aaron, 34, marketing analyst, good job, good salary. A life that looked fine from the outside. But inside, Aaron lived with a quiet humiliation no one else could see. Every January, he became someone new, disciplined, focused, optimistic. He'd wake up early, plan his meals, map out goals with color-coded precision, and for a few days it worked. He'd feel sharp, alive, like he'd finally cracked the code everyone else seemed to understand. Then something small would happen, a late night, a skipped workout, a missed morning, and instead of adjusting, he'd collapse. One slip became permission, permission became avoidance, avoidance became silence, and silence became another notebook. Aaron wasn't lazy. That was the lie he told himself, but it never quite fit. Lazy people don't buy planners. They don't watch documentaries at midnight. They don't imagine a better version of themselves so vividly it hurts. Aaron cared deeply. That was the problem. He cared so much that every failure felt like a verdict on who he was, not just what he did. On a cold Sunday evening, Aaron found himself at his parents' house for dinner. Same table, same food, same questions. "So," his uncle asked casually, passing the bread, "what are you working on these days?" Aaron opened his mouth, then closed it. Working on? He wanted to say he was building discipline, that he was fixing his habits, that this year was different. Instead, he smiled and said, "Just staying busy." Later that night, back in his apartment, he stood in front of the mirror longer than usual, not judging his body, not criticizing his face, just looking, and quietly asking a question he'd been avoiding for years. What if this is it? What if the person he kept trying to become was never coming? That question didn't explode. It didn't scare him into action. It just sat there, heavy, patient. 3 weeks later, Aaron attended a coworker's farewell party. Loud music, cheap drinks, forced laughter. That's when he saw her. Lena. She joined the company years after him. Back then, she was shy, unconfident, always apologizing. Now, she stood differently, spoke differently, moved like someone who trusted herself. Aaron waited until they were alone near the balcony. "Can I ask you something?" he said. She smiled. "Sure. What changed?" Lena laughed softly. "That's a big question." "I mean," Aaron said, choosing his words carefully, "you seem grounded, like things finally clicked." She looked out over the city lights for a moment. Then she said something that didn't sound impressive at all. "I stopped trying to fix my life." Aaron blinked. "What?" "I stopped chasing big transformations," she said. "They were breaking me." That made no sense. "If you're not aiming big," Aaron said, "how do you change anything?" Lena turned to him. "You want the honest answer?" He nodded. "I got tired of disappointing myself," she said, "so I made my goals so small I couldn't fail." Aaron felt a flicker of irritation. Small goals? That was the advice everyone gave when they didn't understand ambition. But Lena wasn't finished. "For years," she continued, "I wanted to become disciplined, confident, healthy. I'd go all in, then burn out." She paused. "Then one day, I decided my only goal was to open my laptop and write one sentence." "One sentence?" Aaron repeated. She smiled. "Sometimes it was a terrible sentence. Sometimes it led to more. Sometimes I stopped right there." "And that changed everything?" he asked, skeptical. "No," she said. "It felt like nothing for a long time." Then she leaned closer, lowering her voice. "But after a while, I realized something scary." Aaron waited. "I couldn't stop." That sentence followed him home. "I couldn't stop." That night, Aaron lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every failed attempt he'd ever made. The pattern was suddenly obvious. He always started at the finish line. He demanded the behavior of someone disciplined before becoming someone disciplined. He wanted the identity without earning it. The next morning, instead of opening a new notebook, Aaron did something unfamiliar. He opened an old one, flipped to the last page, and wrote a single sentence. Then he wrote another sentence underneath "make the bed." That was it. No morning routine, no workout plan, no life overhaul. Just make the bed. It felt embarrassing, like admitting defeat. But something inside him whispered, just try this once. His first instinct was to rush. Then he remembered. He stood up, pulled the sheet straight, smoothed the pillow. 30 seconds. That was day 1. Day 2, he made the bed again. Nothing changed. Day 3, same thing. By day 5, something unexpected happened. He noticed the bed. Every time he walked into the room, it was there. Finished, orderly. A quiet reminder that something had been done. Not everything, just something. On day 7, Aaron caught himself hesitating before leaving the apartment. He looked at the sink, one dish. Normally, he'd ignore it. Instead, he washed it, then froze. This wasn't part of the plan. There was no plan. And yet, something had moved. 2 weeks passed. Aaron still wasn't waking up early, still wasn't working out, still wasn't crushing goals. But every morning the bed was made. And slowly, without ceremony, other things followed. Not because he forced them, but because they felt natural. One evening, he opened a book he'd abandoned months ago, read 2 pages, closed it, no guilt. Another night, he stretched for 5 minutes before bed. 5, that was it. At work, a colleague commented, "You seem calmer." And instead of spiraling into self-criticism, he did something new. He smiled, not because he'd failed, but because he cared. The next morning, he made the bed again. That's when it clicked. The power wasn't in the habit, it was in the relationship. For years, Aaron had treated change like a test, pass or fail, win or lose. Now it felt like a conversation, one action, one response, no drama. 3 months later, Aaron ran into Lena again. "You look lighter," she said. "I think I am," he replied. "What's the secret?" she teased. He laughed. "I make my bed." She raised an eyebrow, then smiled. Exactly. By the end of the year, Aaron's life didn't look dramatic, but it felt unrecognizable. He exercised, but not obsessively. He read, but without pressure. He worked with focus instead of frenzy. And most importantly, he stopped quitting. One evening, he opened the 9th notebook again. Not to mourn it, to write on the final page. "I was never broken. I was just asking too much too fast." If you're listening to this and something inside you feels exposed, good. That's not shame. That's recognition. You don't need a new life. You need one honest action you can repeat without hating yourself. 1. Not impressive, not shareable, just real. If this story stayed with you, let it travel further. A quiet like, a share to someone who keeps starting over. And if you're brave enough, tell me this. What's your smallest promise? Not the one that sounds good, the one you'll actually keep. Because that's how change begins. Not loudly, not perfectly, but faithfully. One small action at a time.